All right, welcome back. Another episode of the Empty Gym podcast. Joined here today by Adam Pollard, my trusty co-host. We got some NBA playoffs, a little bit of hockey, a lot of college basketball with last night. Today is June 1st, by the way. Last night at 11:59 Eastern on May 31st, the draft NBA draft deadline came. So people had to make their decisions whether they were staying in or going back to school. Had a lot of announcements come down to the last few waning hours of the night. Uh, Two in particular involving the University of Illinois. So we'll get to all of them though, all the big ones at least. I think that's pretty much all we're gonna run through today. How are you today, Adam?
I'm dandy.
Yeah, we
I
got a
got me a nice cup of coffee this morning and ready to talk some hoops.
yeah. Again, now that I've moved back to Indianapolis, we're now three different time zones and three time zones apart between me, Adam, and Roach. So now it's kind of just a free for all of whenever we can get these in, we're gonna do it. So today it's 10 a.m. for me and 7 a.m. for Adam. So we appreciate one of the hardest working journalists in the game getting up early to get this pod in.
Yeah, I'm just an early bird, man.
All right, let's talk NBA first. Game 7, kind of close at first, a little fun. Obviously, the big story being Jason Tatum kind of getting a little bum ankle in the first quarter, and that kind of set the tone for the game. And then the Heat just kind of, especially in that second half, just kind of pulled away and never looked back.
Yeah, it was crazy. I did not see the Celtics losing that game at all.
I don't think
With the
anyone
way
did.
I know with the way they won Game 6 at Miami in just a crushing fashion for the Heat and that whole entire arena. I just felt like the Celtics were going to go back home, be the first team to come back from 3-0, and head to the NBA Finals. But um, it didn't happen. I don't want to put too much blame on the fact of Jason Tatum rolling his ankle 26 seconds into the game, but I do think there is something to look at. Like there is an impact of that. But I mean, you look at Jaylen Brown; he had 8 turnovers, and I feel like that's the biggest story coming out of Boston right now. Is what do you want to do with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? I know we'll probably talk about that a little bit later, but as far as the whole entire game goes, he didn't play his best. I felt like Brogdon didn't play his best. He didn't really see too many minutes either. Just kind of felt like nobody on Boston, other than Derek White, really wanted to play.
Yeah, Brown, ever since he got that All NBA third team selection, which means that he's eligible for the Supermax. Hasn't been playing too hot since then. He got it like in the middle of the Sixer series, I think, and it's just like in that Sixer series, and then also in this Heat series, he just continually over and over again has terrible turnovers that an NBA player should not have, at least as frequently. Like you're gonna have bad turnovers throughout the course of a game, but it seems like he's having like three or four like really bad ones a night where he's just like losing his dribble or uh, just like bad pass, like really bad pass, just like giving free possessions to the Heat. And but the Heat, to me, I would be kind of scared if I was the Nuggets. I mean, obviously it's the finals, like it has to be two good teams. Like you don't get to the finals without being good, but this team, like I feel like the Heat just like don't. I guess they're taking the expectations that they have and they're just not listening to them at all and just don't have a care in the world besides winning the NBA Finals.
Yeah, you definitely cannot say it's a fluke anymore. Um, I feel like them beating Milwaukee in 5 games kind of goes really under the radar because Milwaukee was the front runner for I think finals odds right out the gate, and they went out and beat them in 5, and everyone thought that was going to be a sweep for the Bucks, and the Heat come in and beat them in 5. I do think that they were the better team against the Knicks. That series was kind of not much. I mean, I would say it would be a toss up in that series, but the Heat were the better team. And I'm not surprised they won that series. What was it, 6 games?
Oh yeah, 6.
But the Celtics series, I did not see them winning that at all. And they're just playing like a playoff team. They have guys who have been there and who have been in the situations before, and they just have a lot of players. I mean, Caleb Martin, for example. I mean, he had probably one of the most underrated Eastern Conference Finals that we've seen in the last couple of years. I mean, he was everywhere. He's one of those undrafted players the Heat just are good at developing.
Yeah, the Caleb Martin been phenomenal in that whole series. Especially, I think it was game 3 where he was like perfect from the field at one point. Late in the first half, ended up with like 16, 18 points, something like that. And then game 7 again looked like he played fantastic in that game. I'm excited to see if he can keep this rolling into the finals because I do kind of want to, actually, before we get to the preview in the finals a little bit, I do kind of want to talk about game 6 just because that was one of the craziest endings to an NBA game I've ever seen. Celtics blow the lead. Jimmy gets fouled on a 2, and then, or they called it a 2, and then Mazzulla challenges it, and turns out Jimmy was behind the line, so they switch it to a 3, which like Mazzulla's challenging that there's a foul, and they end up not only 1 losing the challenge, but 2 basically giving the Heat the lead by giving them 3 free throws instead of 2, and then come down the other possession, and Marcus Smart misses that 3, and Derek White runs all the way from the inbounder spot on the sideline and rebound put back in. And that, like you said earlier, I just thought the way the Heat lost that game, I thought any way the Celtics would have won in Game 6, I thought they would have won Game 7. I thought the Heat had to win Game 6, and then especially the way it happened, I was like, there's no way the Heat can do this like on the road. Just lost 3 games in a row, especially the way they lost Game 6. But yeah, I mean the Heat are just kind of something else right now.
Yeah, I want to go back to your first point about the challenge by Mazzulla. I think that was incredibly dumb, just very stupid challenge. Yeah, because I don't think they were going to review it. Jimmy was just heading to the line, and he just went out there and challenged it and gave Jimmy Butler an extra free throw. But I guess spin zone for him, he did give them the extra 0.9 seconds to switch it from 2.1 to 3.0. But yeah, that was a dumb challenge. Because ultimately, if you don't challenge that, you're still tied. And
yeah, worst case scenario, you're tied.
Yeah, the Heat went on like a 12-2 run to end the fourth quarter, or the last like 2 minutes, something crazy like that. But I think you have to trust your guys in that situation. Like, okay, if we have to go to overtime for this game, I think my guys can handle this, because you do have the best player on the court in Jason Tatum, and then you have a great surrounding cast full of Jaylen Browns, Marcus Smart, Al Horford's, those kind of guys. So yeah, dumb challenge. But yeah, the final play was crazy. I did not think Marcus Smart, of all people, would be shooting that final shot for the Celtics.
Not at all.
Once I saw that Jason Tatum, especially, and then I once saw that Jaylen Brown did not get the ball, and you see Marcus Smart flash to the ball, I just about, I started walking up. All right, game's over, ball game. Marcus Smart misses, which he did. But Derek White, the putback, yeah. I can't remember what coach has said this, but the quote was that the most dangerous person on inbounds play is always the inbounder, which makes sense. I mean, obviously you've seen it here, and you're starting to see a lot more plays built around the inbounder, being a part of it. I don't think that Derek White this was a play drawn up from at all, but it was just, you got to know where the inbounder's at all times, and Derek White did a good job of crashing the boards.
I mean, especially with only 3 seconds left, like White tosses that inbound kind of over the head. I can't remember who was guarding the sideline,
It was
but
Max Strus.
it was Strus. So then Strus like turns his head, and then that gives White an easy chance to just back cut. So it is something that we've been seeing a lot more in the game. Like you said, I can't imagine that one was set up to be like that, but Derek White made the most of it, especially that late in the game. I guarantee Strus is not worried about Derek White crashing to the board. He's just looking to see if whoever gets the ball makes the shot. And then White ended up getting that rebound, but wasn't quite enough. Or that was enough to win Game 6. They didn't have quite enough to win Game 7. So now it's Heat and Nuggets in the NBA Finals. Kind of like a little bit of contrast to styles. I feel like you got the Heat, who are very like grit and grind, defensive oriented, can score. They do have a very good scorer and very good role guys around them who kind of take turns almost which one's going that night, between Vincent, Martin, Strus, Duncan Robinson occasionally, who I can't believe I forgot this, but
Duncan is
Duncan
back.
Robinson also missing two relatively open 3-pointers to put the Heat
Have
away.
you seen the debate going around right now whether or not he should have dribbled on that
Yeah,
open three?
yeah. I mean, it's always awkward. I feel like I think he should have just shot it, but then like if you if he catches that and like mishandles it at all, like I think he's gonna want to dribble and like not necessarily to dribble, but more so to just like get the rhythm back and like
Yeah, regather
but
yourself.
so he must have caught it in his hands wrong or had like uh, awkward grip on the seams or something like that. But yeah, I don't know what was going on with the dribble. It must have been something like that. But yeah, he's been playing some good minutes too. But so yeah, like with the Heat, you got that kind of group, and then the Nuggets, you got very high power offense, probably the best basketball player in the world right now, with Nikola Jokic, at least like at the moment. Uh, just the way he's been playing. Then you got a guy who's not far behind him in Jamal Murray, the way he's been playing this postseason. Uh, Averaged like 32 points a game in the Western Conference Finals. And then you got guys like Porter, KCP, Aaron Gordon, kind of that defensive stopper in that group. So I think it's going to be a fun series. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it as well. I think I've seen all the tweets already. The ratings police is saying how the NBA doesn't want this, the NBA doesn't want it. And I feel like it's kind of been a theme this year for major sporting finals, championships, Final Fours, whatever. Hockey was kind of a letdown for the casual fan. Same with the NCAA tournament for the casual fan. But I think this finals is going to be very good because you have a team in the Heat who they're going into every series that they played with. They have like the nothing to lose, can't lose attitude, and then you have the Nuggets who are the best team in basketball. I feel like that's very safe to say at this point.
Yeah.
I think they were going into the conference finals. But yeah, it'll be a very good series. I think the two-man game with Jokic and Jamal Murray is going to be very interesting to see how the Heat play it. I was listening to a podcast with Michael Malone, and he was kind of saying how the first 5 plays of every single game, he likes to run just a two-man game with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, and just no plays, nothing. Just let them do their thing, so he and his coaching staff can watch and see how the defense plays it, see how they read it, and see how they can then go from there and use that information to go on, which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
It's a very smart way of doing it because he was also saying how Nikola Jokic has basically seen every single way to play against him. He's seen it all.
Yeah.
So it's just we know how people are going to try to defend him. It's just whether or not which one they're going to do, and then we have the solutions to take it from there. And then make the necessary adjustments to go from there. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I do think it'll be a very good series, and I'm very excited for it and see how Jimmy Butler does up against Nikola Jokic and company.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see the matchups. I'm assuming the Heat will likely go with Bam on Nikola and Jimmy on Murray. Uh, I would guess that would be how they go with it. But it will definitely be interesting to see how the Heat try to play that 2-man game. If they do a hard hedge, if you can't drop against Murray. But it's just going to be very interesting to see how they play that. So I'm really excited for tonight to see how that all goes down. Trying to think if there's anything else about this series. Anything else that you want to talk about this series?
One thing I did see, I guess I kind of want to get your opinion on it. Kurt Goldsberry, ESPN analyst, big numbers guy. He said that he thinks that Jokic and Murray might be the best big man and point guard duo in the playoffs that he's seen since Shaq and Kobe. And I feel like that's very, very high expectations there. And I don't think it's too far off with the way that these two have been playing in the playoffs, though. It's just like if you try to compare anything to Shaq and Kobe, and it's not Shaq and Kobe, you're gonna be like, oh, really? I don't think it's too far.
I mean, like Shaq and Powell was probably up there. Or I mean, Kobe and Powell, not Shaq and Powell. Kobe and Pau Gasol is up there probably. Trying to think of other ones that would be better than Nikola and Murray. There's not really many, I don't think. I think that's not a crazy take at all. That this is the best 2-man game we've seen since Shaq.
I mean, like you could maybe go with like Tony Parker and Tim Duncan.
Yeah, Tony and Tim. That's definitely up there.
Yeah, it does feel weird. That possibly could be the case.
That is. I did not think about that, but yeah, I don't disagree. I think they're definitely probably in the top 5 at least. Of ones that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure I'm missing a blatantly obvious one, but yeah, I think they're one of the best big guard duos that we've seen for a long. I expect them to win this championship, but I also kind of at the same time am like, I mean, who knows about the Heat? But what they've surprised me each round, probably except the semis. I thought them and the Knicks were probably pretty evenly matched, if not the Heat a little better. But I mean, their opening round and their conference finals round, they surprised me. So I kind of don't want to be surprised again in the finals. I think the Heat have more of a shot of winning this than people are probably going to give them, but I think this is going to be a lot more exciting series than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the ESPN analytics once again. Which I always see it. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. Like last year when they had the Celtics as an 88% chance to win the finals against the dynasty Golden State Warriors. Maybe they were the better team, but 88% against the Warriors, we all know how that went. And then they had a 97% chance to win the series against the Heat.
Yeah.
That ended up not being true. And then I think the Heat have an 11% chance to win the finals according to that same analytics that they supposedly have.
Yeah.
I always think that's funny.
Yeah, that stuff is always funny. I think if I remember right, that same ESPN analytic thing, but for football, had in 2019 Wisconsin with like a 98% chance to beat Illinois, and we beat them on a last-second field goal. So never trust ESPN.
One win for the good guys.
Yeah, one for the good guys there. Yeah, so we'll have game 1 tonight. and then we'll probably try to get one of these out after game 2, which I believe is Sunday night, maybe Saturday, but yeah, exciting stuff. NBA Finals. The playoffs of both leagues are coming to an end, which is exciting, but also scary because then it's just going to be 100% baseball season. But it's exciting stuff. We gotta be happy about the finals coming up. And you got anything else you want to talk NBA on?
No, I just want to get your prediction for the finals. I think I'm going to go Nugs in 6.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Okay.
I think the Heat steal a couple, but I think Jokic and Murray are just too much. So
I feel like it's a very safe bet to say Nugs in 6.
yeah, I feel like
My
that's
big brain, I know ball is saying Nugs in 6.
yeah, that's how I feel. With that being said, let's just wait until the Heat go into Denver and win 2,
Yep.
and then just make us look stupid. But
Once again.
yeah, at least it's not the Golden Knights Oilers saga that we had.
Yeah, that was a low moment for this podcast.
Well, we recovered.
We did.
Speaking of hockey, Stanley Cup Finals are set. We got the Dallas Stars and the Florida Panthers. Florida Panthers are awesome. Sergei Bobrovsky is awesome. Kachuk, awesome. I'm rolling with the Peas on this series. I have no reasoning behind it other than Brooks Koepka looked coked out at one of their games, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm going Peas in 6.
I'm right there with you. I am rooting for the Peas. I can't root for the Golden Knights because they did beat our beloved Oilers.
Oh, I said the Dallas Stars are going, didn't I?
I don't think.
I think I said the Stars were in it.
Maybe we should just not talk hockey anymore.
All right, the Golden Knights and the Panthers.
All right, so the Golden Knights and the Panthers Stanley Cup Finals. Jack's got the Peas in 6. I'm riding there with them. I'm gonna go Peas in 5. Actually.
I'm gonna change mine to Peas in 7.
Okay.
I want game. Actually, no, Peas in 6 because Vegas will host, and then we'll clinch it at home. Yeah, Peas in 6. I'm sticking with. All right, that was talking hockey.
That was talking hockey.
Let's hope Kachuk plays good and Bob saves every puck like he has been doing. And yeah.
And just real quick for last hockey talk for this podcast. It's Bedard's league next year, so everyone watch out. The Peas, the Golden Knights. This is your guys' last year of free roam with a Bedardless league. So
4 weeks from today. 4 weeks from today, Connor Bedard is officially a Blackhawk. So
yes, he is.
Clap it up for that. All right, you want to talk transfer portal?
We have a lot to talk about in the transfer portal.
Lot to talk about. I'll start with my specific team first. University of Illinois Fighting Illini. Scary hours. We'll combine transfer portal and draft decisions. Scary hours for the last couple weeks. Supposedly, like early April, we thought Ray J. Dennis was going to at some point enter the transfer portal and just immediately say he's going to Illinois. That did not happen. Then Baylor became the leader. Then Utah became the leader. Then Baylor again. Then Illinois again. Then Baylor. Then Utah. Then Illinois. Then everyone has led multiple times in this recruitment. And it's finally coming to an end today in about an hour and 13 minutes. By the time this is out, he will have picked a school. So if you're listening tonight or tomorrow morning, if Ray J decided to go to Illinois, I'm his biggest fan. And if he didn't, I hope he averages 2 points a game next year. But also Terrance Shannon Jr. and Coleman Hawkins have returned to the University of Illinois, which is very big. Uh, and also another big one in the Big Ten, Zach Edey, National Player of the Year, returning. Or Adam, I want to get your thoughts on Edey coming back.
I think it's the right move for him. I think he's one of those guys who is just a college basketball player and strictly a college basketball player. If I were him, I would 100% want to come back because I feel like I don't feel like his draft stock's huge or his pro career is. I don't feel like the ceiling's too high for it. But I do feel like if I was him, and I would have a lot of unfinished business left in college basketball.
I wonder what he does if Purdue makes it to, say, even just like the Sweet 16 or Elite 8. If he still comes back or not. I think losing in the first round definitely to a 16 seed left a pretty sour taste in his mouth. But I really wish he wasn't coming back. I hate him, but I think it definitely was the right decision. He's going to make a ton of money in NIL, probably going to make the most NIL money at Purdue of all time for like the rest of history, because Purdue's NIL is not very big at all. But they're going to spend all they got on Edey to keep him back. But yeah, that was an interesting one. Kind of wasn't expecting him to come back. I thought it was the way he should do, but part of me thought that he was just going to be done with it and ready to move on. What you see with some guys, one of those guys being Adam Flagler from Baylor. I feel like he was one where it's like his draft stock has been in like the late 50s to just not being even in the draft, and he still decided to go or stay in it. I think that's a case where it's just kind of like some guys are just ready to be done with school. But I think it's exciting because a lot of guys came back that not necessarily in other years they would have because of things like NIL. Trying to think, one who didn't come back was Chase Audige from Northwestern. That was a very tough for them. Northwestern had the capability of being really, really good this year, I feel like. I think they're still going to be pretty solid. But if they brought Audige back with Bowie and the kid from Princeton that they got, plus all their other role players, I felt like they had a chance to be pretty good this year. Trying to think, who am I missing?
Caleb Love going to Arizona.
Caleb Love, Arizona. That was interesting. He'll replace Kirk Ariza at point. What else was there?
I got a lot here if you want to start listing off names for you.
Yeah, I'm blanking off the top of my head right now.
All right, so Creighton's Ryan Kalkbrenner. He's going back to school, taking his name out of the draft. Tristan Newton, the national championship point guard for UConn, also withdrawing from the draft and coming back. Richmond transfer Tyler Burton. I remember seeing him a lot. I feel like he's been on Richmond for a while. He's transferring to Nova. He's one of those guys, like I said, I feel like he's been in college basketball for about 8 years now.
Yeah.
So I remember watching him in about 2019.
Yeah, I feel like
two that I think are kind of going under the radar and are a lot bigger than people are leading on to be is Elijah Martin and John L. Davis of FAU coming back.
Yeah, that's huge for them. I'm not too excited about that because Butler does have the chance of possibly playing FAU in the ESPN Events Invitational down in Orlando in Thanksgiving. So I was kind of hoping they would leave, so I wouldn't have to deal with them. But two tremendous pieces from a Final Four run are coming back. There's a chance that FAU could be. I'm not going to say they're going to go on the same run again, but there's a chance they could be a pretty solid team this year in college basketball.
I think they're a top 8 seed in the
And
in the,
they moved conferences too, right? So they'll be playing, I believe.
I think they're also like I saw something that they're like they're a preseason top 5 team too.
I don't know if I would go
But I
that.
feel like that can't be true.
Yeah, I don't know if I would go because they're in Conference USA now. I think, yeah, they're moving to the AAC. So they'll have them. I mean, the AAC has lost some of its top teams like UConn in the past couple of years, Cincinnati, Houston. Uh, but it's still got a little bit better schedule than or better contingency of teams than Conference USA did. So they'll get more tests, be able to kind of build a better resume a little bit than if they were still in Conference USA. So FAU could be a team to watch out for. I don't, like I said, I don't know if I would go to the extent of top 5 in the
Yeah,
country,
I
but
saw that and I was like, I don't think that's entirely true.
yeah, I think that's a little stretch. I think they'll be ranked at the start of the year, maybe even
I
like
did, yeah.
top 15, maybe top 10, but not top 5's a little much. But who else you got?
Uh, Oscar Shibwe,
Oh yeah,
he is keeping his name in the draft.
forgot about that one.
Arkansas's Jordan Walsh, one guy that me and you both talked about how we would love to have see him in an Illinois or a Duke jersey, just by the way he plays on the defensive end. So he's staying in the draft. And Antonio Reeves, the Illinois State transfer, who's now a Wildcat at Kentucky, is withdrawing from the draft and coming back for another year. AJ Hoggard from Michigan State is withdrawing from the draft.
That Michigan State's going to be very good next year.
PJ Hall also withdrawing from the draft from Clemson. I feel like he's very underrated in college basketball. Just the fact that he plays for Clemson kind
Yeah,
of keeps him down there. Kevin McCullough is returning to Kansas. But other than that,
I don't
I think
think
that's all
there.
I got, really.
Yeah, I don't think there are many others. I mean, there's still grad transfers can still enter the portal. So the portal is mostly closed, and the draft decisions are mostly closed, and uh, most players have decided where they're going. There's just a few left. One of the biggest, as I mentioned, being Ray J. Dennis in a little over an hour from the time that we're recording. So, going to be interesting for sure how this ends up going, but how these final kind of pieces into so many of these puzzles start to fit and start to form together. We should be getting completed rosters pretty soon in the next couple weeks, hopefully. Uh, kind of can get everything set in stone a little bit, know who's coming back, know who left, know who's coming in, and kind of start being able to look at this college basketball season and preview it a little bit more and kind of see what we're going to expect from some of these teams. But yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting college basketball season. I think a lot of guys, like I said earlier, I think there's a lot of guys who 5-10 years ago would not come back, but are now because of NIL, which is awesome for the sport. Awesome to keep some of these really good players uh, in college for an extra year instead of them trying to just get out of school and get some money and end up not to say it's bad because they're still great players, but end up in like overseas playing instead of their goal of being in the NBA. So it's gonna be fun. Gonna be a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, you put it perfectly. I do think that uh, we're going to start to see a lot more of seasons and NCAA tournaments that we saw last year. With everyone with all this NIL money and everybody coming back to play more years. This college basketball season, it felt like there were some teams that were obviously on the top tier, but it felt like there was no clear cut. This is the best team in college basketball right now. Like this is who has the best chance to win it all. Like I'm very comfortable picking this team. And then with the tournament, obviously, with the Final Four, the highest seed was a 4 seed. And so I feel like we're kind of going to that realm of college basketball when you see all these guys coming back to school, and obviously with the transfer portal as well, where guys are going to go other places to get more minutes, go places where there's more money for them. But I do feel that we could be heading down that road for college basketball, and I'm all here. I'm here for it. I think it's starting to become a lot more competitive, even though it already is. That's why I'm such a big fan of college basketball. Is just the competitiveness and the heart that is played with on the court. I feel like we're headed for even more of that next coming years.
Yeah, hand up. When this NIL stuff and this portal stuff started happening, I kind of hated it. I still do. Like,
I'm the same way.
There's
I
things
agree.
I don't like about it still, but I mean, I thought this was going to turn everything into like the rich just get richer, which was going to work out for me for basketball because Illinois has become one of the top NIL spenders in college basketball, as well as Duke. So it was advantageous for us for basketball, but especially for like football, I was like, Illinois might never be good again at football. Like every time we have a player play good, he's just going to leave so he can get more NIL money somewhere else. But it's actually turned into uh, kind of like that stuff is still happening, but you didn't think about the opposite side of like kind of the bounce backs that normally would, like, you think of like Last Chance U, like these guys would normally go to JUCO. I mean, the ones who are like getting in trouble and getting kicked out of school are still going to JUCO instead of dropping down to like a D1. But I mean, these types of guys are dropping down from, say, like the third string safety at Alabama, who was a top 100 recruit, or the 5-star point guard, backup point guard at UConn, is like, I want more minutes, and now he's transferring down to, say, like I don't know, some like mid major, like, I mean, for example, like Braden Pajimski with transferring from Illinois to Santa Clara, didn't play barely at all his freshman year, and then now turns into potentially a second round pick in the draft. So it's just, I think it's pretty cool how it's kind of worked a little different than I thought it was going to, with these guys being able to kind of, if they're not getting that playing time, and then that can be very frustrating because for those other programs, because now you're not getting a chance to really develop guys, bring guys in, see them for 4 years, have them grow up from a freshman to a senior. Because, I mean, for example, Coleman Hawkins deciding to come back yesterday. Uh, that's the first recruit that Brad Underwood has ever signed to a national letter of intent at Illinois that has stayed 4 years in his time there. So it's just a completely different game, but it's very interesting. I think it kind of works for both sides, and that's why we're seeing so much parity in the game right now.
Yeah, I think you're entirely right. Since you brought up the whole Coleman Hawkins thing, I do want to get your honest thoughts on that. What? So I assume you're, and I would be too. I'm excited to watch Terrance Shannon Jr. back in Champaign. I assume you're very, very happy about that one. But how are we feeling with the Coleman one? I know there's a little bit of not necessarily bad blood between you two, but there are some rough patches. So what's your thought process here?
We've had our rough patches. He has frustrated me from time to time. But you know what? You got to think last year he was placed into a very difficult decision of not really having a point guard. Um, and then when Jaden Epps was the point guard, he would listen to the play that Brad Underwood told him to run and then just not do it. So That's kind of what we were dealing with last year, and that's what he was having to deal with. I mean, he ended up being point guard a lot as a 6'10" guy, uh, which he did. I'll say he did it pretty solidly. Like, I'm not gonna say it was perfect. Like, he turned the ball over sometimes, but for being a 6'10" guy, kind of by default ended up running the point at sometimes last year. I'm not too upset with his performance. I think he can become one of the best players in the Big Ten. Uh, just the length, the athleticism, the skill set needs to be slightly improved a little bit. The ball handling needs to be improved a little bit, but it's pretty solid for a 6'10" guy. The shooting needs to become more consistent, but I think uh, we could have gotten away without Coleman. I think it would have sucked a lot. It would have I think bringing him back guarantees us as a tournament team, even if we don't get Ray J today. But I think I combined the first and last name.
Sharon's.
I think Terrance uh, coming back is ginormous. Gives us a big guard who I think can become potentially All American level type guy. If he can kind of improve his shooting a little bit more. We saw it in flashes last year, like that UCLA game and the second half of that Northwestern and Michigan games. So here, uh, I'll in about 56 minutes, I'll either be very, very, very excited or still just pretty excited. But it'll be interesting to see how this all goes down. But how are you feeling about Duke? I know you guys got a pretty solid team.
I'm very excited going into this season because there's a lot of familiar faces still on the team. Not because I wouldn't know any of the guys that are coming in per se, but it is nice to have a Duke team where their guys have been there, played for Shire, ran the offense. Guys like Philip House coming back, Jeremy Roach, Mark Mitchell, Tyrese Proctor. Um, I am very optimistic for it. I think the ceiling for us is a national championship this year. And I don't feel like don't like putting that on my team or on myself, because then if we don't win the national championship, then it's like the season's a letdown. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Depending on what happens, but I do feel like it's not too off to say or too biased to say that the ceiling is a national championship for this team. They should be very good. I think we might have one of the best. We'll see how it plays out, obviously, but I think we have one of the best backcourts and just depth with the backcourt we've seen in college basketball in a while. With you have two guys like obviously Tyrese Proctor and Jeremy Roach, Jeremy Roach is a seasoned veteran at this point. Then Proctor coming in as a second year. But then you have guys like Jared McCain, Caleb Foster, who are two very talented recruits coming out of high school. So I am very excited for this team. I think Shire will get them where they need to be. And I don't want to say anything else to jinx myself, but that's how I'm feeling at this point.
I think there's a good chance we both have pretty solid teams, which is exciting. Well, I'm ready for basketball season kind of already.
I also am fully prepared for everything I just said to blow up in my face. I am fully aware that is probably a very well possibility that could happen.
That's something you always have to take into consideration, and something that's happened to me a lot. Let's see. So we got these next couple weeks of the finals, the NBA finals and Stanley Cup finals. And then it's baseball time, and then I guess we do have the U.S. Open coming up in a couple weeks. Then it's just waited out till football season. But gonna enjoy these last couple weeks of basketball and hockey before we get into the dog days of summer. I guess that's kind of all I got. Is there anything else that you wanna talk about?
Not really, no. Like I said, I will talk to a friend of the program, Max Kellerman, see if we can get him on for a pod for a preview of the U.S. Open. And then we will be looking at getting special guest Chet Williams, Mike Pleasance on the podcast to talk some footy, talk some soccer, talk some carp, talk some prem, and bet with Chet season.
Coming soon. I guess we'll have bet with Chet for the Prem and other soccer. But yeah, we got a special announcement. I think we're gonna do a bet with Chet segment, especially in the fall for football. Get him in, get some of his picks going, and yeah, it's gonna be. We're in the works of planning some stuff for football season after these NBA finals are kind of over. It'll be nice. We can kind of brainstorm some ideas, come up with some segments and stuff like that for football. We'll be trying to get 2 out a week as much as we can during football season. Kind of like a recap of the weekend on like a Monday or Tuesday, and then kind of a preview of the next weekend, Thursday or Friday. So the plan for football season, I know that's kind of far away. We still got finals for hockey and basketball left, but I know I'm excited for football season. I think you are too, Adam, with some of the conversations we've had about segments, ideas. So got a lot of stuff cooking. But yeah, I think that's all we got today. Any last words?
No, don't guide me.
All right, appreciate you waking up early, Adam. Glad we could get this one in.
Anything for the pod.
All right, and yeah, appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you next week.